PSA, if you're a freaking artist and you're in a bad musical contract, shame on you. Stay tuned. Welcome to the 16th episode of the Tell It Like It Is Hip Hop News Reaction Podcast. This is SP the Artist, your host. If you're not yet a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel. Also, like and share the videos. And remember to comment. The comments let us know if this hip hop content is of any use to you. Feel free to also leave questions in a comment if you're not familiar with a particular artist. Also, if you actually know an up-and-coming buzzing artist that I might not have mentioned, or if you want me to talk about some news that I haven't mentioned. Anyway, let's get right into it. Today's topic, guys, and this is an important episode to me, personally, because I'm an up-and-coming songwriter, right? I'm not a performer or a singer or rapper or anything like that. If you hear me do any songs, guys, it's because I absolutely had to make something happen so people can respect me as a songwriter. So I don't want you to get it confused like I'm coming out as a rapper or singer or anything like that. It simply will be a last resort if I'm not able to connect the dots and put people together in a lineup with a song that I've created. Anyway, I want to talk about not understanding, not being able to interpret musical contracts, not understanding your publishing and all of those things, right? I'm not going to say I'm the foremost expert in it, but what I did was I wanted information on how not to be robbed as a songwriter, right? I wanted to be able to leverage my intellectual property as a songwriter. I wanted to have the leverage to distribute royalty share or whatever. Whether I chose to take a loss on one song, as an investment into future business and relationships, that's fine. I want to be the guy that owns 100% royalty of what I'm doing. So pretty much, I'm actually talking about just anyone in general, not any one specific rapper. I'm not talking about Rich the Kid and what he's dealing with 300 Entertainment. I'm not talking about Wayne and what he had to deal with Cash Money, or anyone, Little Uzi Vert, anyone that has some issues with their label or contracts or et cetera, whatever. I'm just saying, you as an artist, whether you're established or up and coming, do more due diligence into your contracts. Have your lawyers interpret the language of that contract for you to see if it's something that serves you or not. Don't get so excited. I understand. I'm grinding from the bottom too. I'm getting it out the mud. But I also know this. I will not sell my soul. And I'm playing the long game. So I'm not going to sign myself to a contract that could have me bind it somehow and takes most of my rights. And they get to leverage on everything that I create. I'm not going to allow myself to be in a situation like that. Even if I don't understand the wording per se, I'm going to hire an attorney to make sure that they interpret it clearly to me. All right. And I'm going to make my decisions accordingly. The way I make my decisions, and I advise you guys to do the same thing, think the long game, right? Even if something may be a short-term gain, something that's really fast, it could be transient, because if they offer you a lot of money up front, this is a record label or any management company, publishing company, or whatever it is, offers you anything, right? What you want to do is, like I said, have your attorney look over it. Definitely you want to have your attorney look over it, because you don't want to find yourself in a situation where everything that you bust your ass to do, you have no control over. If there's something you want to put out, you can't put it out. You know what I'm saying? You don't want that. You don't want to be caught up in a 360 deal where they're fucking getting a piece of your fucking merch, any acting situations you got going on, you're touring. And I'm not saying it's bad, because I definitely am not going to vilify the label owners or the label executives or any of that situation, management, music management, none of that, publishing companies, music. I'm not doing any of that, because they're simply doing their jobs as business owners, right? They're in the business. This is not personal, right? They're in the business of making money via music. That is their vehicle. That's how they make their money. So I feel like this. A lot of these organizations, we have to thank them, because if it were not for them, we probably wouldn't have heard of a lot of these artists. Because let's face it, most artists don't have the wherewithal to be independent artists to take that route. Everybody is not like a Russ or like how Soulja Boy started out or was ambitious as 50 or say like a Jay-Z or Master P. Everyone doesn't have that sort of intellectual cunning, that finesse, whereas though they have the street smarts and they can kind of understand corporate structures and how to move within that. Everyone is not as savvy is that some people want to have their hand held and just want to create. And in light of that, if it were not for the major labels and those big platforms, those Fortune 500 businesses in music, we wouldn't have heard of most of the fucking artists that we have, come to love. So I don't want to tear them down because I feel like it does keep getting better and better, and things keep evolving, and we learn. The music industry, hell, they learn from their mistake, right? That Napster situation and the downloading and all of that, and how they refused to understand streaming and what that was right off. They let people like Apple and Spotify come in and take that, and now they simply gotta, migrate over to the streaming industry, right? Where they as though they could have been evolved it, right? And the same thing may happen in Hollywood too with this Netflix thing, right? Especially with the surrounding the Me Too scandals and all of that shit, right? You know what I'm saying? Like we see that streaming and other deals, production deals, you can do it without, Hollywood having all of the power to leverage you, to hold you back, to change your idea around so you don't get credits and all that. So we're dealing with new landscapes and things of that nature. All I'm saying is no matter what we're doing, whether we're screenwriters, musicians, whatever we're doing, we have to hold ourselves accountable. We have to learn how to protect our intellectual property, to leverage it well. We had to learn how to play the long game instead of getting so excited about a little upfront money. But then on the back end, they're raping us on the back end. We get a smaller percentage of the royalty take than they do. And that's not a cool thing. But if we allow ourselves to be put in that situation over and over because we see something, the instant gratification of it all, wanting to impress and look like this or look like that in front of people. And I think that's what really gets us. And a lot of people, that's why I feel like a lot of them don't want to take the independent route, the grind that has to go in it. And I don't think it has to be that hard. Like I mentioned before, you can do direct response marketing. There's a lot of agencies that can help you do direct response marketing if you don't understand things like copywriting, running Facebook ads, Instagram ads, doing any of that stuff. You don't know how to do any of that stuff on or offline, direct response marketing, like mailing campaigns. And then you can hire agencies. There's a shit ton of agencies out here that are very successful that's helped a bunch of companies, big and small, increase their reach out there. And that's all the artist has to do. There are other outlets for you to create the reach because essentially you want to put your music where all of the eyes are. So of course, Facebook, everybody's on Facebook in their feeds, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever. So you want to do ads that apply to those places, right? So you may not be savvy in that, but hire an agency. And there are some people that are some hungry entrepreneurs who know their shit very well, right? I'm going to be doing this. My company, my daughter and my partner and I, we're going to be doing this for other brands as well. We're doing it for our brand, right? So it was worth me. And I'm just saying, guys, even though this is not for everybody, it was worth me to do my due diligence and to bust my ass and to learn copywriting and learn how to run ads and all of that stuff. Because since we got a little bit of money to invest in that, then now we can leverage for ourselves. We don't have to pay an agency. I'm just saying, some of you guys may be able to get a loan. You may have some cash around because you are touring and you're doing some things. You may want to hire an agency. Because I know it can get tempting, guys. Really tempting if a label is going to say, hey, we're going to do all of the marketing, handle everything for you, right? Now, all I'm saying is they're still doing albums and CDs, yes, but it's not as big as it once was. So the streaming thing is a thing. So you can actually do the SoundCloud thing, become very, 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 have a very lucrative career just based off the SoundCloud so much that when you break through and you're gaining that traction, you're already gaining streams from YouTube. You can do the Spotify thing, even get people like Apple and Tidal to take you on. They're going to take on what sells, what is good for the culture, what is not harmful or disrespectful. They're going to take on. So you don't necessarily need a label holding your hand. You can actually hire a good team, a great lawyer, a great manager, and things of this nature. But I just feel, in my opinion, the label thing, if that's not something that you are mentally prepared to, then don't be complaining. Know what you're getting into when you get with a label. I'm just tired of everybody pointing fingers on these labels because they choose not to educate themselves and hold themselves accountable. I'm not here to argue who's right or wrong about being a culture vulture or any of that stuff. When it comes to what I hear about what I'm saying as far as Lyor Cohen, I don't personally know the man, right? I know he has said some things that are deemed controversial on the Breakfast Club, but I got to say, a lot of these acts out here that we know and enjoy today, we would not have seen most of them if it had not been for Lyor Cohen, right? Lyor Cohen, hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. So I'm not saying it because I think it's unfair that the genuine Caucasians that have contributed to the culture of hip hop, genuinely. And I feel like Leo was one of them. He was right there with Russell Simmons, right? I don't think Russell Simmons is that bad in judgment in terms of business, right? I'm not getting into his personal life, guys. That he would have had a white guy that cares nothing about black people and they just want to profit off him. I just don't think that was the case, right? And I don't think that was the case as far as Rick Rubin or anybody else. Are there assholes in it? There are black people in the fucking culture. You know what I'm saying? That don't give a shit about the blacks or the artists that's in it. They just want to profit. So I think that's just a mindset. The culture vulture is a mindset. It doesn't matter if you're like white or black, right? Because you can be a white person that's actually more into the culture than some black people. Hey, it's some people in Japan that's more passionate about the culture of hip hop than some people that live here. You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't even pay for a ticket to go to a tour. Wouldn't even pay for somebody's CD or they wouldn't even download that album. They would rather steal it or buy a bootleg. So here in the States. So I just don't want to point fingers. All I'm saying is we have to hold ourselves accountable and we have to do our own due diligence as far as the publishing, our rights, intellectual properties, understanding about master recordings and what an SRC copyright is. We need to understand these things. If you don't know, then, you could, hey, listen, I found out, and I have to say this over and over. When I published my songs, right, I wrote some songs and I was serious about pitching them. This is when I learned as much as I learned, because if I hadn't pitched them, I wouldn't have learned how I needed to prepare myself as a songwriter. Okay, 4 songs. The first 4 songs I published through ASCAP. I published as both writer and publisher. That way I was able to keep 100% royalty on each of the songs. And then that same evening, I copyrighted all of those songs. And what I found was, I thought for each individual songs, I was going to have to pay an electronic filing fee, copyright fee at copyright.gov. I thought I was going to have to pay $55 each. Turns out that when you're doing it electronically, right? And this even goes for patent, when you file for patents, provisional, and for the non-provisional patent, it's going to save you a lot more money if you do this electronically, folks. So this is a huge tip I'm giving you, artists. If you're going to copyright any of your poems, your books, your songs, your drawings, whatever your intellectual properties are, right? You can't copyright a name. You have to trademark a name. So we're not talking about a title, but like any of your works, right? You can copyright them all under the same $155 electronic filing fee. You can actually copyright an unlimited amount, infinity, if you're willing to sit there and upload all those files under the $155 electronic filing. So that's a huge tip I'm going to give you. It may sound redundant. You may have heard me talk about this before, but I feel like it's massive because there may be a lot of people mismanaging their funds, not knowing that they can do this simply because they didn't ask the question. And I had to think that some people may not know about this because I'm hearing not a lot of people talk about it. Also, still hearing people in these bad fucking contracts complaining about a contract, all because they heard that they was going to get $150,000 something. All they thought about was wearing a change, how much they could floss, and how many women they could sleep with. They wasn't thinking about the long game of their business and the back end business of their own businesses. They're not thinking that they need to have an attorney interpret the fine print for them. And that's all I want to say. So I'm signing out of today's episode, and I hope you guys and hey, in light of a little bit, and this episode was inspired by Leo Cohen and his Breakfast Club interview and him responding to Rich the Kid and him complaining about 300 Entertainment. And then we've heard in the past that the Migos have had complaints about 300, and just hearing what Lil Uzi Vert and then the Wayne situation, and just what a lot of people continuously deal with. And it's not even just in that. I mean, it's all in all areas of business, like bad contracts and things, because instead of thinking a long game and delaying gratification, we want to get that dangling piece of cheese. We want that, right? We want it. And so we make a hasty decision without reading the fine print, and we sign away our rights. And we can't blame these corporate structures or any of that stuff, right? We can't expect everyone to be angels like ourselves. People are in business, and business is about leveraging. Okay. And if you're going to want to leverage to your best ability, understand what that fuck it is you're doing. Anyway, this is SP the Artist signing out. Remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Peace.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.